Hey, everybody. Welcome. Happy Saturday. I hope you guys can hear me. Wow, okay, we have people joining. Ahmed, hello, hello, hello. Hey, Lee. Fernando, good afternoon. Good morning or good evening, wherever you guys are. Happy Saturday. Man, it is a super hot day today. I'm sweating. Trini, hello, hello. Joshua, siempre amor. Happy Saturday. I hope you guys are doing well. Okay, we have 32 people. You guys can hear me, right? Chin, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Hello, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, or just Illinois. Hey there, James. Craven from the UK. Okay, we have 29 people, 30 people. Okay, guys, happy Saturday. Again, I'm just here to talk to people and maybe answer some question as usual. Nothing special planned. Joaquin, good to see you, my brother. Hakeem, you know the tomato seed that you sent me called the Adora. I actually just started the seeds for those. So once they grow, I'm gonna show it to you. I don't know anything about that variety, but yeah, I'm trying to grow a new tomato variety. The Hidden Jungle. Greetings from Southern California. The beautiful state of California. Hello, hello. Wow, guys, it is ridiculously hot today. It rained this morning for a reason. I mean, it wasn't in the forecast. And I did a little bit of gardening. I went to the shooting range. Look at it. I'm sweating like crazy. I just got back. So yeah, a productive Saturday. And maybe after this, I'll do a little bit more gardening. But pepper plants are doing great. All my fruit trees are doing amazing. We had a storm last night that blew a bunch of my fruits over. So I had a few pears that dropped. Pretty sad about that. Yeah, I'm growing Asian pears, and 6 different varieties. I'm growing a bunch of tomatoes, like I think 5 different varieties of tomato. Good afternoon, Fernando. How often should you water peppers? You know, peppers love water, but they don't want the roots always wet. So what you should do is you water thoroughly, make sure the soil is all saturated, and then don't water again until the soil is semi-dry again. Because if the feet is always wet all the time at the bottom, you're going to notice that the pepper plants is going to struggle, and the leaves are going to have spots, and they're going to turn yellow, and it won't grow at all. So if you see that your plants are not growing, like, you know, if it's 4 or 5 months old and it's still small and it looks sick, it's probably because you have bad soil, or because you water too much. Um, yeah, I should put the super hot oil on my firearms. That would be fun. Uh, your Asian pears frequently need to be thinned, otherwise they are a size of golf balls. Yes, absolutely, James. You are right. Asian pears have a tendency to overproduce. And if your tree is not big enough that it cannot support all of the fruits, the thinning is required, or else you're going to have golf ball size, as you said. Yes, you definitely need to prune if the pear tree is very young or very small. If it's fully grown and big enough, like 15, 20 feet, you don't have to prune that as often. So yes, you are absolutely right, my friend. Purgatory peppers. How do I get some of the KS white Thai seeds? You can trade for it on Pepper Lovers Community. I think a ton of people are growing that variety right now. I'm actually growing, oh God, like 20 of them or something. I'm exaggerating, but maybe 10. Allison, you water a little bit every day. That's actually bad. Don't water a bit every day. Give it a thorough water. Don't water again until the soil is semi-dry. Everyday watering is first of all, it takes a lot of your own time, but also it's not good for the plant because it could be wet from the day before, and then you're watering again, and then it gets wet again. So give it a nice thorough water, and don't water again until the soil is dried up. That is the best way. Pepper plants don't like their feet wet all the time. If it rains for 6 days straight, is there anything you can do to help your pots and grow back dry out? I have that problem too. It depends on your soil mixture, actually. So if you have a good soil mixture that can retain water, but also release the excess, that's the best way to kind of like combat that issue. But usually, the best, the only other option is to move it out of the rain. But yeah, I sometimes I get lazy, and my pot is just sitting in soaking water. I mean, we've had rain not for 6 days, but 30 days. The last 30 days, every day it rained, almost. And I'm not even exaggerating. We have a lot of rain. So from here on out, we won't have any more. So it's going to dry up very quickly. Any tips on keeping the greenhouse cooler? You know what? I really don't know the answer to that question because I don't have a greenhouse. Maybe a fan, like a fan that can take in the cold air, and then another one to take out the hot air. That may work, but I'm just saying that, but I really don't know. Yes, definitely shade cloth. If you live in Texas, like I do, North Texas, it gets super, super hot. So shade cloth definitely is a must. But I don't have them. So what happens is that all of my plants, they drop flowers like crazy. Berry jam. I don't sell the tomato seeds. They are a hybrid, and I don't even know what they're going to turn out to be. So yeah, I'm not going to release that seeds anytime soon because tomatoes are much different than peppers. They just not going to produce true. So in the next season, it may be something completely different. Like for example, like have you ever grow sun gold tomato or something like that? Sun gold, and it's always an F1, and that is because they specifically modify it so that the F1 is consistently the same. But if you save seeds from that plant that you grow, the next season is going to change. It's going to be completely different. It may not taste the same. It may not even look the same. So yeah, tomatoes are really strange. I'm just diving into tomatoes. I don't know too much about crossing it, but it wasn't that difficult to do. But I don't have a lot of experience on crossing peppers. Alan, have good afternoon, my friend. Good. How are you doing? I hope that's your name. I forgot. I know it's Alan, right? That's because I sent you a mail before. Cheers, everybody. I have a afternoon so far. It's the weather is getting really nice right now, but really, really hot. Trini, my garden is actually doing better because this week, this week, the rain kind of stopped. But then this morning we had some rain, but I think this is going to be the last day of rain for the next few weeks. So the weird thing about where I live is there's no way for the plants to sort of like gradually get introduced to hot weather. It's sometimes it rains for like weeks, and then all of a sudden it goes up to 95 degrees Fahrenheit after the rain, and everything dries up like that. So it's pretty crazy. So I have to learn how to work with it. And also, a lot of my vegetable it is just like dried up and die all of a sudden. But that's why I have to really look into pepper plants that grow well in the hot months. So right now, what I'm growing is like Malabar spinach. They do amazing. Um, I had some Mizuna that's trying to flower, but I keep plucking off the flower, and it's grown like into a huge bush. Alan, you're growing the Star Screen chocolate sweet. Oh, that's a great variety, Alan. I hope you do a review on that. The fruits are really interesting. I have a few of them growing right now. I'm going to show it to you soon. Yeah, JN, the season is very abrupt. It's like it doesn't give the plants, time to get adjusted. It's just like wet, 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 wet. All of a sudden, 95 degrees, and the next day everything dries up. Do you think cutting early flowers is necessary? Are you talking about peppers? If you're talking about peppers, yes. For me personally, I actually plucked all of the flowers off because my plants are like this size, and they already started to have flower. So what I do is I pull all of the flowers off. Sometimes I even pinch the top just because I just wanted to, a shorter um, a pepper plant. Because what happened is in my area, not only that it's hot, sometimes we get so much wind, and the wind keep breaking my peppers. So what I usually do is I top my plant to keep them nice and short. That way the wind doesn't, flip them over or break them and all that stuff and snap them. Because I don't always use, stakes to help them grow up. So I pinched them to to try to keep them short. But it does set the plant back. So make sure you know how long your seasons is going to be before you do that. Alan's, you know what, Allison? I've been experimenting for the past few years, and I noticed there's a pattern. Every time after a dose of fertilizer, like say you fertilize too much, the next few days you're gonna get like an influx of aphids. I mean, they're gonna be all over the place. So a good thing to do to prevent aphid is to have healthy soil, and then you don't have to fertilize often because the soil is nice and healthy. It gives the plant everything it needs, and then the plant gonna be nice and strong, and it can, like defend itself or fight off the, some of the pests, and especially aphids. Anytime it senses there's like excess nitrogen in the soil, the plants begin to struggle a little bit, and then you get like a bunch of aphids like everywhere, and they multiply like crazy. I mean, it just like in a matter of days, your whole plant is filled with aphids. So yes, try to reduce fertilizer or any of those artificial fertilizer. Uh, the best thing to do is give your raised beds, if you grow raised beds or your pots or whatever, a nice mixture of healthy soil that you don't have to fertilize too often, and the plants is going to be nice and healthy and strong, and then less of an aphids problem. Another thing you should do is grow many different plants, or instead of just one thing. That way it allows other bugs to come, like ladybugs come, and lace wings will come, and sometimes even the wasps and the bees and stuff like that. And with all those action going on, they can, the bugs kind of eat each other. And hoverflies are great for eating aphids. They eat a ton of aphids, the larvae. So yeah, try to attract those insects into your garden, and they'll just fight themselves, and you don't have to do anything. How often, this is Lee, how often do you fertilize ground plants and vegetable? And how about trees? The trees, I don't do the trees very often, because trees they can spread roots and they can grow and get what they need. But for trees, I think I probably do it like maybe once every 3 weeks, and it's a very low dose fertilizer. Usually I use fish emulsion for the trees, And even for all my peppers in the garden, like 1 tablespoon per gallon of water, and just water nicely, and that should be it. So the thing with fertilizing with like with liquid is, what you should do is you should give the garden a spray of water first to get the soil nice and soaked. Because if you pour water fertilizer, the liquid fertilizer, and water it, and your soil is dry, it just runs right off. It doesn't get soaked into the soil, and the plants is going to lose a lot of it. So what you should do is water the garden first, and then go back, and then give it the liquid fertilizer. That way it can go into the soil and stay there, where the plant can use it without running off. Is it possible to grow pepper plant from seed to fruit just by putting them in the south window? If you have about at least 6 hours of sunlight direct, yes, you can do that. If you have less, you're going to notice the pepper plant is going to grow really tall. It's going to be stretchy. And that's how you know that the plant is not getting enough light. So between each node, so the node is like, where the leaves come out, this leaf, that's a node. If you see your node is like this long between, that means there's not enough light. And if it's short like this, like an inch or so, then the pepper plant is nice and strong and is getting adequate amount of lights. Matt, nectar of the gods, best nutrients. I need to look into that. I haven't used it before. Marigolds, great for bringing hoverflies. Oh, Stephen, thank you for that. I had no idea. Yeah, the thing with hoverflies, they look like little bees, and the reason they call them hoverfly is like they actually hover like a helicopter. And those things are really cool because when they have they lay eggs, right? The eggs hatch into a larvae. The larvae looks like a maggot, and those maggots don't harm them. You may mistaken them for something bad, but they look like a maggot, and they crawl onto the tree, and you always spot them around the population of aphids, and they're there just eating the aphids. The larvae of hoverflies eat a lot of aphids, so make sure you look after them, or just don't bother them and don't harm them. Ladybugs larvae also eats a lot of aphids. They eat way more than the adult aphids, and they look really funny. They look completely different from the actual ladybug, because they look more like the alien, the one that attaches to your face in the Alien movie. That's what the, the ladybug larvae look like. Oh, they have promotional trials? Okay, I'm definitely gonna look them up and see. Yeah, I've heard Nectar of the God before, but I've never used it. Anthony, I'm glad you finally made to the stream, my friend. I'm glad you're here. Fellow pepper lovers, peppers are awesome. I've said it many times. I just love growing peppers. I love eating peppers. The weird thing is, after all these years of me growing hot peppers and breeding peppers and super hot and all that stuff, I still cannot eat maybe even half of the super hot. No way. That's crazy. I love super hot, but I can't eat it. Jim Kingsman, hot creation. Hello, Jim. Good to have you, my friend. Guys, Jim Kingsman is an amazing grower, and I think he sells stuff too. So check him out. He has a wonderful not YouTube, but Facebook, and that he display all the stuff that he makes and all the stuff that he grows. So yeah, he has some great varieties. Everyone knows him up there, so a trusted source. So if you guys need seeds or whatever, hit up Jim Kingsman. Kingmans. Sorry, Jim. How do you decide how much to trim your pepper plants? It depends. Food Academy. It depends because I live in Texas, right? My season is very, very long because I literally have from end of March all the way to November, pretty much, for my before my peppers completely, dies off and stuff like that. So my season's very long, and I can trim as much as I want. So it really is up to you. If you have a short season, try not to trim. If you have a long season, then trim however you want. The plant will come back if you treat it right. If you have a short season, I would recommend growing the plants inside 2 months before you take it outside. That way you have a head start, and then your pepper plants will produce faster because it's already kind of mature. So yeah. Um, how much to trim is usually if my plant is too tall, as I mentioned earlier, then I would trim it to make it kind of shorter because I have a lot of wind that would snap the plant anyway. So I don't want that to happen. Also, if my plant is around, like maybe 6 to 8 inches, and it's already fruiting, I'll pinch off the fruiting parts, like a little bit, like half an inch, and then let it start over because I don't want it to fruit early. Steven, you love watching Rob from the 7 Pod Club. I love Rob. He's amazing. Rob has like the perfect voice to do like radio. I love watching Rob's videos. He's very kind, and I just love his videos in general. He's just very technical, and he does wonderful things, and he loves pepper. So we kind of have the same passion. So yeah, Rob is the man. 7 Pod Club, guys. If you have not seen 7 Pod Club, he has a YouTube channel, also Instagram and Facebook. It's a great channel to visit. Do you know the reason cucumbers get really white? I read maybe too much water. Cucumber loves a lot of water. So if it turns white, do you mean like the fruits, or do you mean the leaves? Because cucumbers do get powdery mildew really easily, and it turns the leaf completely white with a powder. And if that's the case, then your plant is having major issues if it turns that white. Other than that, it should not turn white. Um, Overwatering may possibly be the reason. If you have like really compacted soil that holds water like a pool, then that's the only reason that cucumber would have watering problem. But in general, you actually have to water cucumber a lot more than other plants because they love water. Do you grow from seeds or clone usually? I usually grow from seeds. And then if I find the plants that I really, really love and I only have one of them, then I would start the cloning process. But usually I grow them from seeds. So speaking of cloning, if you clone your plants, clone them and then grow them in hydroponic, it gets enormous and then taken to the soil. That's usually how I do it. And it works really well. The fruits are half green and half white. I've not seen that. Um, yeah, I have not seen the fruits half white. Uh, but cucumbers when they ripen up, it depends on the variety. They do turn a little bit of a different color. Wicker, here in Iowa, we went from near frost at night to excessive heat in a few days. That sounds like Texas. Yeah, you're right, Jeremy. Some cucumber varieties do produce white fruits, and I have grown one, um, actually two, for the past few years. If you go to my Instagram, you're going to see a bunch of white cucumbers. Chin howling. A few of the pepper plants will fully flower and open, but won't produce visible pollen before falling off. Um, a lot of people have been reporting that problem, and it could be because there is something that the plant it doesn't like. It could be the plant is not ready. Sometimes it could be because there's a lot of heat that caused the flowers to want to drop before it start to produce pollen. It could be like drastic changes in temperature, or if the soil is too wet all the time. If you have wet soil all the time, that's one of the biggest problem for peppers. Eli, yes, I'm also surprised it's not 100 plus yet in Texas. It is actually near 100. Let's see what it is today. 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and tomorrow is going to be 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Guys, I was at the range, the shooting range earlier, and I was like soaking sweat. I think my shirt is like, it's like a towel. It's crazy hot right now. The humidity because of the rain we had this morning, it is so humid, and it makes the 88 degrees feel like much hotter. Are you a Texas native? Because I don't hear an accent from you. No, I'm not a native here. I was born in Vietnam, actually. If you listen closely, you would notice I do have an accent. Everyone tells me I have an accent. Let's see. Have I ever been to Franklin's barbecue? No, I have not been to Franklin's barbecue. Is that near here? Fino, my Carolina Reapers got over 5 feet tall and had hundreds of blooms, but would just drop. Tent grown and drained soil, great nutrients. Okay, so if your Reaper plant is 5 feet tall and the blooms keep dropping and the plant look extremely healthy, that is possibly because one, your tent is really super hot. Two is because you keep fertilizing. Stop fertilizing when the plant is 5 feet tall. Um, Excess fertilizing will cause the pepper to want to keep growing. That's why it's 5 feet tall. I mean, that is an enormous plant. Um, it's gonna want to keep growing, and when it does that, it drops the bloom in order to grow. So you see a lot of like green foliage, but then the flowers keep dropping. So what you should do is try to keep the temperature lower. Uh, it's best between 75 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit for reapers. Reapers are very sensitive. If you guys have grown them, they're very sensitive. They're much more sensitive than all of the other super hot that I've grown. So keep the plant between 75 degrees to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and don't fertilize too much. If the plants look beautiful and healthy, and it's 5 feet tall, which means it's going to be very healthy and big. So at that point, you don't need to fertilize too much. Just let the plant stress out a little bit, and it's gonna keep the fruits better than if you keep fertilizing. El Guapo, anything I can do to help pepper in the north-facing bed? Don't have a good spot for full sun. That would be tough because they do need a lot of sun. If they don't get a lot of sun, again, they're gonna stretch. They're not gonna grow well. So what you can do is, don't put the baby plant there. Put a big plant there. The big plant can tolerate less sun than the little plant because the little plant needs the sun to start growing and growing. So you can also grow different varieties that don't require as much light, and that should work. Like Rocado varieties are good for not too much sun. They kind of prefer a little shade, but they also grow very viney. So that may be one of the a good variety to grow in less sun. Um, Ahi varieties like the ahi lemon that works really well in places where you don't get as much sun. But if you can give it as much as possible, like at least 6 hours, it would do well. Pepper starts prefer a moist or dry soil. Usually, moist soil is best, but not wet. Like if you touch it and there's water on your finger, that's not good. But if you can feel the moisture in the soil, that's how it should be good. So again, at any stage is the same. Just water thoroughly and don't water again until the soil kind of dries up. Vintage, you and I should meet someday. Are you from North Texas, Dallas, or where are you? John, would you recommend to cut roots in hydroponic if they grow too dense? I lately got problems with bacteria in the nutrient solution when the air stone can distribute enough air to all the roots. If you have root problem, you can cut it, but if your roots are healthy, don't cut it. Yes, you can definitely you can trim the roots and the plant would be okay. If so, you mentioned that you have a root problem. Trim the bad part out, rinse it off, um, and then mix a new batch of nutrients. Actually, cycle it through fresh water first. After you trim, after you trim the roots, cycle it through just fresh water only for like 24 hours, and then after that, wash it off, and then give the plants back a half strength nutrient, and it will recover. Another thing you can use is there's this thing called the I forgot what the nutrients is, but it actually help with the root development. Is it rapid root or something? I think it's rapid roots. That actually works to help fix some of the bad roots after the fact. Wow, San Antonio. What's the weather like, vintage in San Antonio? I bet it's hot right now, right? Because you guys are way south. Is it Karim? Karim, you plant about 20 varieties of peppers and you make hot sauce. That's fantastic. If you grow peppers, definitely try to make hot sauce. And it's actually easier than you think. If you have never made hot sauce before, check my YouTube video on how to make hot sauce in 15 minutes. It's an amazing recipe and you will love it. It's so easy. What? Johnny Scoville is here? Where is he? Did I miss him? Allison, I don't know. I maybe I missed Johnny. But guys, I mentioned it before. I met Johnny in person. Amazing guy. He's awesome. Johnny has a like an iron stomach. No one can eat pepper like that. Chili K gel, buddy. I saw your videos and they are amazing. Keep up the good work, guys. Chili K gel has a YouTube channel where he does pepper review. Please go support him. It's a great channel. I love their demeanor. They're great, nice, and I think the video that they make is awesome. It's just fun to watch, um, and it's just the reaction is just it's just priceless. So if you love watching videos about pepper review, please go sub to Chili K Gel. Oh, you did? Chase the Heat was above? Oh man, I miss Johnny. Let me see if I can go back up and see where he. Oh, is that Johnny? Chase the Heat. Yes. Johnny, if you're still here, I'm sorry I missed you, my friend. I'm glad you're here. You joined the the live. Good to have you. Yes, Allison, I think that is the real Johnny Scoville, the man. Guys, there's no other YouTube pepper reviewers like Johnny. You got to watch those videos where he eats all these challenges, and it's ridiculous. Oh, sorry, Shell. Is that how you say it? Shell? Yes. Make sure you sub to Shell's channel. Johnny is the OG for sure, no doubt about that. I'm a big fan. One of these days, I'm gonna need to go to those pepper thing again and meet Johnny one more time. Vince, my buddy, good to have you, man. Vince, I like that portrait of you on your picture. Is that the Marines or yellow cluster chili? Oh man, that is awesome, man. You're collecting all kinds of great cluster chilies. I have not seen a yellow one, so I must follow you on that one. Marine 2004 2000. Wow, that's awesome, my friend. What is your favorite hot pepper variety this year? This year, I would say I'm growing the Brazilian Starfish. That's my favorite. I am also growing the California Reaper. That's also on my top list. I love the Jay's Peach Ghost Scorpion, and that's another one of my favorite. The white tie, of course, always my favorite. And then I'm growing Vince Houston white tie. That's going to be another favorite of mine. Matt, thoughts on Ed Curry and what is the authenticity of the Carolina Reaper? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, all I know is that Ed created the Reaper, and that's basically all I know. Wicker, you're growing the Brazilian starfish for the first time. My friend, you are going to like it. The reason I love the Brazilian starfish is because it is a beautiful pepper variety, and it has this little saucer shape. It's really unique, and is very firm. And what I usually do is when I work in the garden, I'll pick them and I'll eat them like fruits. Man, they're so good. They have a little kick to them. So that's how you know it's a pepper. But they're amazing. You're gonna love them. They're just super crunchy. Very unique variety. It's one of my favorite all time. Do you grow any potatoes? Homegrown potatoes are fantastic. I do grow sweet potatoes. I don't grow the regular potato because I'm really not a fan of potatoes. I don't like potatoes that much, but I do like the sweet potatoes, but not for the potato itself, but for the vines. We eat the vines of sweet potatoes. They're amazing. They taste like spinach when you cook them. Climb high. Kang, greetings from Germany. Hello, my friend. I have a big problem. My Thai chili is full of peppers, but they're not turning red at all. They stay green for weeks now, and they have so they stay. Usually, sometimes pepper will stay green for a very long time, and that's just normal. What you can do is wait for a few weeks more, and if they don't turn green, what you can do is select the oldest pod on the plant and pull them off. As soon as you do that, they're going to start to ripen up. It does start the process if you do that. Gerard, you have peppers grown in the Netherlands, the Reaper, huh? That's awesome. How to cook carrots in a garden? I'm not sure what that question is. Zach B, do I follow the Aerogarden fertilizer regimen for peppers? No, I just do. I just follow my own, which is the lazy way, and I think it's best to follow what they say, but I never do that. I just do. What when my plant needs feeding, I feed it, and I change nutrients less than I should, but I should get I should change it more often, but I don't. Vince said that if they don't turn red, I add liquid fertilizer and it turned red quickly. Good point, maybe. Vince, I haven't tried that, but maybe I should. But usually what I do is I pick the oldest pod, pull it off, and then a few days later, you're going to start to notice the other pods begin to change. Fino, I have not grown cacao tree. The only trees that I grow in my yard are apple trees, persimmon trees, um, mandarin oranges, and pear trees. That's basically it. What is it? Arabin, you're working on a huge cross. The Teppan times lemon drop is a pretty famous pepper. I'm crossing it with a F7 Tabasco times 7 pot. That's a lot of different crosses. Good luck, my friend. I hope it turns out great. Teppan times lemon drop is great. I actually tried it before, and I have seeds for those. It's a really cool variety. Tastes great too. Any suggestion on increasing grow tent humidity? They have humidifier that you can use for your indoor grow room, but usually I never have a problem with my humidity, because what happens is if you have a few plants in there, and the plants would take up nutrients and it would release it into the air, and that in itself creates humidity that the plants needs already. So I don't use more than that. Maybe if you have a fan that circulates and dries up the humidity, then that could be, you may need extra. But for me, I've grown so many things like tomatoes and peppers and melons and stuff like that, and I never have to use any extra humidity. I have never grown Szechuan peppercorns. I have not. How many peppers over the years have you successfully made unique crosses from? Oh, Jacob, I lost count. I think like under 30, but I lost count of them. Every season I try to do something new, and that's the problem is, like, you can't continue to stabilize if you keep adding. So sometimes I have to go back to the old plants and start to grow them again. Thank goodness for indoor grow tent, right? That way you can do it all season long. What's the best way to get some of your lemon starburst seeds? You can always trade for them on Pepper Lovers Community. If you have something to trade, there's always someone that will have it. Cheers, everybody. Happy Saturday. Do you have a preference for cracky versus DWC? It depends. If I'm growing like just leafy greens, I usually don't go with DWC because it's not necessary. I just go with the cracky. If I grow fruiting plants that will grow for like 4, 5, 6 months, uh, 3, 4 months, then DWC is the best way to go, because it helps, with the refill and stuff like that. Because with cracky, when you refill, you have to refill where the original level is. You can't go all the way up because you're going to drown the roots. So if I grow tomatoes that gets, that I keep around for 3 months or more, then I go with the DWC method. But for like lettuce and cilantros and herbs and all that stuff that will only last 45 to 30 days, uh, cracky is the best way. Less work, less effort, less things you have to buy, and you get a better yield. Not better yield, but it's just the worth the effort and less cost. Have you ever tried cilantro in the Aerogarden? Yes, I have. They will do just fine. Any kind of herb really will do fine. Basil, I've done basil in Aerogarden. Cilantro. Let's see what else. I did rosemary cloning. Um, a bunch of other stuff. And then for greens, I've grown lettuce. Uh, I've even grown peppers and tomatoes, and basically everything in the Aerogarden. Do you find that trimming off suckers on tomato plants increases tomato size? My container tomatoes are the kind of small and trying to figure out why. It depends. If you're growing, uh, like um, those large beefsteak tomato and stuff like that, and yes, you should prune off the suckers, and it does help with the fruit size. If you're growing like cherry tomatoes, you can prune, but you don't have to. The more suckers you have, the more fruits they will produce. So as long as you can have, if you feed the plants right, they will fruit just fine without you having to pull off the suckers. But also, there's indeterminate varieties of cherry tomatoes that they just grow really wild and enormous. And that's the only time where I actually trim off the suckers to kind of like make them smaller, and they don't drink so much. But yeah, I don't have to trim suckers for cherry tomatoes. But for beefsteak or large tomatoes, definitely you need to trim those suckers, because those suckers would take away resources from the main vine that produce uh, energy for your fruits. Yeah, that's what I figure. You grown the indeterminate beefsteak and they're really small. Yes, definitely pull those suckers off, because the suckers do compete for resources with the rest of the plant. And then you're gonna get like a huge plant, that grows all over the place, and the fruits are like tiny because it's trying to grow all the suckers. Wow, we have 82 people, guys. Thanks for joining me on a Saturday afternoon or evening or wherever you guys are. Yes, Allison, you're right. The beefsteak do need a large containers or a large growing space to produce large tomatoes. When you have them in a small pot, they're gonna produce more fruits. Thomas, this life is likely early 90s King waiting other dudes on the street munching roasted seeds. Yeah, we should one day. I think somebody on the pepper lovers community should do like a pepper meetup somewhere. We can all go to one place, it's like a meeting place, and have conversations and events about peppers. I like to go to those sauce festival, like the hot sauce events. Those are cool because you get to you actually meet some of the people you may know, and you get to try a lot of the hot sauce, and the stuff that they have on display. Charles, good to have you, my friend. Thanks for joining. Have a good one. Let's meet up in North Carolina. That's a good place to meet. Carolina is a beautiful state. Is North Carolina or South Carolina where the beaches are? I think it's South, right? Thomas, have you ever aggressively topped a tomato like you do peppers, trying to create a short, compact bush? Thomas, no, because what happens is even if you top the tomato, let's just say you're growing a indeterminate, right? Indeterminate varieties, it doesn't matter if you top it, the next shoot will come out and take over and it's going to try to grow the same way. The only way to keep the bush compact and small is if you grow the determinate variety, and then you can trim and then it'll be a small compact plant. So yes, it does depends on the type of tomato you're growing. So determinate is definitely a way you can trim those and they would stay short and bushy. Indeterminate, regardless if you top it or not, it's going to try to put out the next side shoots, which is the sucker, and it's going to try to grow tall and tall and tall again. And the reason I know that is because I have done it. And also, I have my tomato plants that get damaged all the time. They break in half, and then the next shoot come out and it starts all over again. Stephen, 11 p.m. here in Ireland. Wife tapping on the floor. I'm not going to the chat. Yeah, she probably wants you to go to bed. Wicker, I clean up my tomatoes like a cannabis plant. Guys, so after years of growing tomatoes, sometimes I just let them grow in their own and they get out of control. Sometimes I do trimming and all that stuff. And so when you grow tomato, it does require some trimming. And what the places you should trim is the places at the bottom, like the bottom where it meets the soil. This level around a foot around here, make sure all of that is nice and clean. That way you don't get diseases and bugs that get onto it and eat it and all that stuff. So tomatoes does get some diseases, especially when it comes from the soil. So clean up around the ground area. Make sure there's no leaves touched in the ground. And indeterminate varieties, you're gonna have to stake them up, help trellis them up also because they grow nice and long and tall. And cherry tomatoes are wonderful to grow because they produce so much. Like one plant, I mean, you can eat tomatoes for the entire season and they keep producing more. And then the birds will also come because they also love tomatoes. So anytime I have tomatoes, there's going to be birds all over the place trying to eat them. Persia, can peppers be hybridized with tomato? No, they cannot. It has to be peppers with peppers and tomatoes with tomatoes. I heard from a lot of my friends that they cook the leaves of tomatoes too. No, I did not. I have no idea. I did not know that you can do that because I thought that tomato leaves are like toxic. But pepper leaves, yes. I've eaten pepper leaves before. People, Asian grocery stores always sell pepper leaves to cook. So yes, you can eat pepper leaves, but it also depends on what variety. Like you don't eat pubescents, the varieties that have hair on the leaves. Those are the way you stay away from. Yes, you're right. Pubescent cannot be hybridized with any other pepper variety. Yes, I think you're right about that one. And Dina, yes, thanks for confirming that. Yes, we eat pepper leaves. I'm Asian. Yeah, pepper leaves can be eaten, but again, make sure you know which variety you're growing that is edible before you eat them. Do I use shea cloth when it gets super hot in Texas? I should, but I don't because I just don't want to do all the work. So what happens is I just let my plant drop all of the flowers during the crazy hot months, and then towards the end, because our season's long, towards the end they start to produce again. So I usually start my pepper plants inside, and then when I take them outside, they're pretty big already. Like I take them outside around April, and then by May and June, I have peppers. And then I will pick all of those peppers off. And then July, August, and September is the hottest months. All of the plants start to struggle, and then the new flowers will start to drop and all that stuff. And then by October, November, then I get another production of peppers again. So I don't use shaved cloth. I just go with the season and just let the pepper, like handle up. Yeah, today we are up in the 90s. Tomorrow it's going to be hotter. And then for the next week, it's going to be just all sun. It's going to be super, super hot. So the plants are going to struggle like crazy. Have I ever made seed sprout tea for your plants? No, I have not. I usually do gardening the really lazy way. I keep it really simple. I don't do all of the like I don't do compost tea. Um, I don't I don't do foliar spray. Um, anything that take extra work, I just don't want to do it. I think the most important thing to do as a gardener is to you know work with your soil. Have a good living soil that that is balanced, and then it takes years to build it up. But once you have it nice and ready, good to go, you don't need to do the extra stuff. It's almost like too much work for nothing. Not for nothing, but too much work for the effort that I want to put in. So yeah, I keep things really simple, as you see in the videos. Like I do hydroponic. I don't make it difficult because if it's too difficult, it's no longer fun for me. So just keep things simple, and I think you're gonna enjoy it much more. Don't go do the extra stuff where it's really not needed. Allison, yes. When I first started making videos, you can tell I was very nervous. So over the years, you kind of like, you get better. It's almost like with practice, you become more comfortable. I still get nervous, but not as much as before. But before, I don't show my face or whatever, but Jacob, thank you. Because when you have children and then you have other hobbies and you have a full-time job, and you're trying to do all these things all together, so a lot of the times you don't have time to do the extra stuff. So what you do is you spend a little bit time to do some research, and also you do experiments, and after experimenting, you know what works best, and then you keep things simple. The same thing at work. I don't like to do anything manually. I don't like to make things more difficult than it should be. Keep things as simple as possible, and that is the best approach in most of the things that you do. Even gardening. Uh, Mr. Scott, organic plus hydroponic equals huge pH swings. You know what? I've never done organic hydroponics, so I can't confirm on that one. But yeah, good information. Thank you. Manure tea can be used for hydroponics. You know what? Uh, I wouldn't use any manure tea in hydroponic. I don't think it's a good idea. You know, because in hydroponics, the stuff that they make is concentration. It is very concentrated, and it's made so that it doesn't, cause things to rot and smell and all that stuff. Uh, when you have like organic stuff, mm, with all these bacteria, things are gonna happen, and it may produce like bad results. So I wouldn't try manure tea as hydroponic. What do I do for my regular job? I work in IT. Um, it's really difficult to explain what I do, so I stick to the IT stuff. But yeah, a lot of data analytics and all that stuff. So simple to get, it's hard to explain. So that's why I usually don't say it. I just say I work in the IT field. Sunil, I grew some habanero. It's hot, but has a slight weird taste. The habanero from the grocery store does not quite have the same taste. Is something wrong with your plant? No, actually, there's nothing wrong with your plant. Habanero has many different varieties. The one in the store may be different than the one you grow, unless you took the seeds from the grocery store. But even then, habanero from grocery stores, what happens is they pick the pods really early because they usually, I think they're from Mexico most of the time, so they have to pick the pods before they are ready, and then they ship it here, and by the time they get here, the pod will slowly mature and turn to a different color. So what that means is you're not going to get the optimal taste of a habanero if you buy them in the grocery store, because it's not picked at the optimal time. So if you grow them yourself, it's going to taste different. It may taste a lot better. You're going to get a lot of the sweetness that you don't get in the grocery store, but also you can pick at the right time where it has the nice crunch and the aroma that you want. So yeah, if you grow them yourself, it's definitely going to taste different, for sure. What nutrients do you usually use for the hottest peppers? Gerard, I use the same nutrients for all the pepper variety. Um, I have used the Aerogarden nutrients. I have used the Flora series, and I have used the Dynagrow series, and they all works very similar. I maybe I should compare the difference, but there's not a particular one that I use for super hot. I just use them all. But the latest ones that I'm using, like the one I'm using right now, is the Dynagrow and the Dynabloom. The reason I don't use the Flora series anymore is because, again, I don't like too much work. The Flora series has three parts, and you got to mix them in order. And so every time you mix nutrients, you got to go with the micro, and then you had to go with the grow, and then you got to go with the bloom. It takes a lot of work. So I just don't want to do that anymore. So I use the Dyna Grow. So what I usually do is I put the nutrients into the containers, and I spray it down with water, and done. If you watch my hydroponic videos, you're gonna see that's all I do. I don't do anything more difficult, because again, if it's too difficult, it's no longer fun for me. Vince, if Kang works as a data scientist, kind of hard to explain, but if he works for the government, then it is a secret. Vince, I do work on some secret stuff that I cannot disclose. Yeah, there are projects that I worked with that are very, very confidential. Gerard, I think you're asking what nutrients I use for the hottest pepper, or what nutrients I use to make the peppers hottest. Trini, can you use only the grow in the GH series? Yes, you can use only the grow if you want to. But the reason they're formulated in three parts is because you can mix and match them. For example, during vegetative stage, you use more grow and less bloom. And during the blooming stage, you use less grow and more bloom. So that's the reason they have the three parts. You can actually dial it in and mix the nutrients according to the needs of your plants. And that is actually a wonderful way to do it. But again, it's just too much work for me. So yes, you can use the grow only, but the plants are not going to get all of the nutrients it needs to grow properly and strong and give you the best results. But of course you can. And the reason I said that is because they're the one I use, like I use the Dynagrow and Dynabloom. Sometimes I run out of the bloom, or if I don't want to use the bloom at all, I use grow throughout the entire cycle, like from beginning all the way to fruiting, grow only, and it worked just fine. Let's see. Let me go back to some of the comments I may missed. Do you have any problem getting seeds from other countries in your trades? No, I have not had any problem, because my friend Joaquin was from Norway. He sent me a bunch of stuff and I've been growing a few of those varieties. So yeah, there's no issues there. My friend Chris from Norway, he sent me a bunch of stuff. Yeah, no problems at all. Hang, you're here. Good to have you. The last Natty, what determinate tomato varieties do you recommend? You know what? Right now, I am growing the 100,000 Determinate variety, and that is a really fun variety to grow, because I mean, it tastes okay. It's not bad, but it's really fun to grow. And the reason for that is because it grows really fast, and it spreads out like this. It's like, it's like those weeping trees, and they call it hundreds and thousands because you literally have like hundreds and thousands of little tomatoes. It's a lot of fun to grow. So if you like, huge producing plants that are determinate, not too crazy big, you can grow in a hanging basket, and the strand will fall over like this, and you get fruits everywhere. So it's actually pretty fun. I would grow that one for the looks and a bunch of tomatoes, and it tastes okay too. Phenotypical. Do I have a soil choice for my indoor grow? You know what? I don't have a soil choice, but I do. I'm very picky when I choose soil to grow inside my grow tent, because I mentioned it in many times in my videos. And the reason is, if you use the regular soil that you buy at the big box stores and stuff like that, they are going to have gnats in it. So what happens is, you put the soil in your grow tent, the fungus gnats flies everywhere, and they start to reproduce, and it becomes annoying. I grow it in the garage, so it's okay. But some people grow it in their, like, the basement or house or whatever, and so the gnats can become a huge problem. So I do buy a certain brand that I trust, that because I have experienced in the past, and Pro Mix is one of them. There's a thing called the red. It's a red one, and it's kind of like in a square with a handle, And make sure when you buy those, there's no holes in it, because if there's any visible holes, gnats could potentially be, get in there, and then they will produce eggs, and then you're gonna have gnats all over the place. So buy soil that is has a nice packaging, that is enclosed, that has no holes, and not sitting outside. And that's the kind you should use for your indoor grow tent. Yes, Casey, you're right. Nematodes can be can solve that problem for you. Hang, the map, the lemon starburst map, I didn't create that, and I think something happened to it, and somebody deleted one of the layers, so now the US has nothing on it. Yeah, somebody did something to the map. It seems like the one of the layer has been deleted, so everything in the US is gone. So Jesse is the one that made the map, so I think he's gonna have to fix it. Yeah, it's weird, Ronnie. For some reason, somebody deleted the US layer, and so I didn't know that you can do that, because it's supposed to be restricted. Barb, super hot, super sweet 100. That's a good variety. It produced like crazy. I love how those little tomato truss, it comes out, and there's like a ton of fruit on them. Sanu, I don't use any drip irrigation, but I plan on doing that, because with drip irrigation, it's gonna make my work a lot less. Jacob, I have two kids, and speaking of which, one is about to wake up, so I may have to get going very soon. So yeah, see the door behind me. One of the babies sleeping there. So anyways, y'all, thank you so much for joining me. We have 92 people on a Saturday afternoon. I have to go get my baby now, so I have a schedule for 4 o'clock tomorrow that I'm gonna come back on and do a live again. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow if you guys come back, and if you have questions in advance, write them down, and I'll try to answer them again tomorrow. All right, guys, thank you so much. Talk to you guys soon.